Underneath that, there's no oxygen, no life. And down there we found conchs and conch shells and hermit crabs that had fallen into the hole and suffocated, really.
The ocean's depths swallowed them whole, yet what they uncovered surfaced like a shockwave across the world. In 2018, billionaire Richard Branson, explorer Fabien Cousteau, and a team of elite scientists descended into Belize's enigmatic Great Blue Hole.
We all share the common goal of conserving, protecting our beautiful global ocean. I'm really excited to be joining Fabien Cousteau on an amazing world's first submarine expedition, Belize's Great Blue Hole.
Armed with submersibles and cutting-edge tech, expecting coral and fossils, they instead stumbled upon human remains, eerie debris, and something that defied explanation, moving silently in the pitch-black abyss. This wasn't just exploration. It was a plunge into the unknown, where history, mystery, and danger collide. A journey to the bottom of the blue hole. The moment the submersibles slipped beneath the shimmering Caribbean surface, the real adventure began. Richard Branson, Fabien Cousteau, Erica Bergman, and a hand-picked team of marine scientists weren't just diving. They were stepping into a living enigma, a vertical world that had remained largely untouched since Jacques Cousteau first explored it in 1971. Back then, limited light and primitive tools left countless questions unanswered. Now, decades later, the team was determined to uncover the truth. This wasn't a casual descent. Every detail had been meticulously orchestrated. High-definition cameras, precision sonar, and state-of-the-art submersibles. The Stingray 500 and Idabel, ready to navigate the twisting void. Branson, known for turning adventure into global attention, had more than curiosity driving him. This was a mission tied to Ocean Unite's 30 by 30 initiative, aiming to safeguard 30% of the planet's oceans by 2030. Exploration and advocacy intertwined. The journey began over vibrant coral gardens, where reef sharks, neon fish, and gliding sea turtles swirled in sunlight-dappled waters. But with every 100 feet, the brilliant blues of the surface faded. First royal blue, then slate gray, until an inky blackness enveloped them. Temperature dropped, pressure mounted, and sound became a ghostly echo. Through the acrylic domes, the team felt weightless, suspended above a world humans were never meant to enter. Sonar pulses mapped the cavern walls, revealing a nearly perfect circle over 1,000 feet across and 400 feet deep. It wasn't just a hole in the ocean, it was a vertical archive of Earth's history, a time capsule holding secrets frozen for millennia. As they descended past the point where light could no longer penetrate, anticipation gave way to awe. Below the veil of darkness lay untouched silence, a realm frozen in time, hiding ancient formations and secrets that no human eyes had ever seen. The next layer promised revelations far stranger than anyone imagined, mysteries written in stone, water, and the very sediment of the earth. And in the silence beneath, the true story of the blue hole was only beginning to unfold. Secrets of an ancient sinkhole. Long before turquoise waters lapped the edges of Belize, the Great Blue Hole was a dry limestone cave, carved slowly over millennia by dripping mineral-rich water. Stalactites hung from the ceilings like stone chandeliers, some stretching more than 40 feet long, silent witnesses to the slow passage of time. This subterranean world had never seen sunlight, never felt a diver's presence. Until now, as the last ice age ended and glaciers melted, rising oceans swallowed the cave, collapsing its roof in a single cataclysmic moment. The result? The massive, near-perfect circle we now call the Great Blue Hole, a sunken monument to Earth's power and patience. What seemed serene above water was, in fact, the aftermath of violence and transformation, frozen in stone. The 2018 expedition's high-tech sonar offered a window into this hidden history, revealing terraces along the walls, ancient fossilized shorelines marking periods when the ocean had paused, surged, and paused again. One ledge sat at 69 feet, another at 161, a third near 300 feet. Each marked a chapter of glacial melt, sudden sea level rise, and global upheaval, a record of the planet's turbulent past etched into rock. Even more puzzling were the stalactites themselves. Some were slightly tilted, off by 12 degrees, in a pattern too consistent to be random. Geologists inferred that tectonic shifts, silent yet unstoppable, had shifted the very foundation of the cave long before it collapsed. It wasn't merely water and time shaping the sinkhole, it was the restless movement of Earth itself, a slow but relentless force. For the crew, this wasn't just geology, it was time travel. They weren't observing coral or fish, but stepping into an ancient archive, preserved with perfect fidelity in darkness. With each sonar sweep, they traced the contours of history, fascinated and unsettled. But as the submersibles passed deeper than the 300-foot mark, the water began to change. Light vanished, oxygen dwindled, and a strange chemical layer stretched before them, a ghostly curtain hinting at the limits of life itself. Beyond it awaited a realm where the ordinary rules of biology and decay no longer applied. The team was about to enter a boundary between life and silence, a threshold that would reveal some of the blue hole's darkest, most enigmatic secrets. A graveyard beneath the blue hole. As the submersibles descended past 300 feet, the vibrant blues of the Caribbean faded into an impenetrable darkness. Sunlight no longer reached this alien world, and the water carried a dense, almost tangible stillness. But it wasn't just the absence of light that struck the crew, it was the chemical boundary they had entered. A thick, invisible layer of hydrogen sulfide stretched across the hole like a silent warning. Below it, oxygen vanished. Life, as they knew it, ended. This anoxic layer marked the divide between two starkly different realities. Above, reefs teemed with turtles, colorful fish, and corals swaying in gentle currents. Below, the world was frozen in time. No bacteria, no decay, just cold, oppressive silence. Every light beam revealed more of the eeriness. Shells, scattered like fallen soldiers across the sand, their final struggles preserved forever. The team called it the conch graveyard, a haunting testament to life snuffed out when it crossed this invisible threshold. Yet, this was not only a record of ancient death. Amid the shells, the explorers glimpsed human tragedy. The preserved bodies of two divers, lost in earlier expeditions, rested undisturbed. Here, in the heart of the abyss, time and decomposition had slowed to a near halt. Respecting the dead, the team left them untouched, marking their location for authorities. A sobering reminder of the hole's unforgiving nature. Even more disturbing were traces of modern intrusion: a plastic bottle, a GoPro, human waste, all relics of the world above, now resting in a silent tomb. The ocean had preserved both history and human negligence side by side. But then, the instruments picked up something that defied explanation. The sediment displayed patterns unlike anything they had seen, precise looping tracks etched into the soft floor. They weren't natural, not left by currents, debris, or known marine life. They suggested motion, intelligence, and life, in a place where none should exist. The submersibles hovered over these mysterious marks, lights cutting through the black. Questions surged. What made them? Could something be moving in this oxygen-free void? The team's awe turned to tension, realizing the blue hole still had secrets far stranger than any ghostly graveyard. Beyond these tracks, deeper mysteries awaited, a realm that would reveal the human cost of exploration and the unfathomable mysteries of the abyss. The ones who never made it back. Deep within the great blue hole, far below where sunlight dares to reach, the expedition uncovered something far more haunting than ancient rock formations. It wasn't just a place shaped by time, it was a place marked by human stories that never found an ending. As the submersible's lights swept across the ocean floor, shapes slowly emerged from the darkness. At first, they seemed like part of the terrain, motionless, indistinct. But as the beams grew steadier, the truth became impossible to ignore. Two human bodies lay preserved in the stillness, untouched by decay, frozen in the exact place where their journey had ended. These were not recent victims, but divers from past expeditions who had ventured too far into the blue hole's unforgiving depths. For years, their disappearances remained a mystery, speculation ranging from equipment failure to sudden disorientation. But here, in the silent void, their final chapter had been quietly waiting to be discovered. Below the chemical layer, the environment offers no second chances. Visibility can collapse in seconds, instruments can fail without warning, and the absence of oxygen turns even the smallest mistake into a fatal one. It's a place where panic has no escape route. The crew responded not with shock, but with reverence. There were no attempts to disturb the scene, no dramatic reactions, only a quiet acknowledgement of the risks every explorer accepts. Coordinates were recorded, authorities would be informed, and the site would remain undisturbed, a resting place sealed by time itself. In that moment, the mission shifted. What began as a scientific exploration now carried a deeper weight. The blue hole was no longer just a geological wonder or a mystery to solve. It had become a reminder of the thin line between curiosity and consequence. Even the scattered gear nearby, tanks, fins, instruments, told a silent story of a dive that didn't go as planned. Every detail felt like a snapshot, frozen mid-event, as if time had simply paused. But just as the team absorbed the gravity of what they had found, their instruments began to reveal something even more unsettling. Strange markings on the ocean floor, patterns that didn't belong to wreckage, nature, or the lost divers. Because if those weren't left by the dead, then something else had been moving in the depths. Something moved down there. But what? Just when the team thought they had witnessed the most unsettling sights the blue hole could offer, their instruments detected something that didn't fit, something that shouldn't exist in a place like this. As the submersible hovered just above the ocean floor, high-resolution sonar began mapping the sediment in greater detail. At first, the images looked like random ridges, faint disturbances in the sand. But as the data sharpened and the scans overlapped, a pattern began to emerge. These weren't random formations. They were tracks, clear, repeating, intentional. Long, curved lines intersected with one another, forming loops, arcs, and even near-perfect circles. Some overlapped, as if something had passed through the same path more than once. Others stretched outward into the darkness, disappearing beyond the reach of the sonar. The shapes weren't chaotic. They had structure, almost as if they followed a purpose. The team immediately began ruling things out. The submersibles themselves hadn't caused the markings. Their propulsion systems didn't match the patterns, and the distance between the vehicle and the seafloor made that impossible. Ocean currents? Unlikely. Down here, the water was eerily still, almost frozen in place. Natural sediment shifts didn't create clean, repeating arcs like these. And then came the most chilling realization. No known marine life could survive here. Below the hydrogen sulfide layer, oxygen is virtually non-existent. Even the most resilient organisms struggle in such conditions, and none are known to move in ways that would leave behind marks this large, this deliberate. These weren't the frantic trails of dying creatures like those seen in the conch graveyard. These were controlled movements, purposeful movement. Inside the submersible, the atmosphere shifted. The quiet hum of machines suddenly felt louder. Every flicker on the sonar screen demanded attention. If something had made these tracks, then it meant one of two things. Either science had overlooked a form of life capable of surviving in this hostile environment, or something entirely unknown had passed through here. Speculation spread quickly. Could it be an undiscovered extremophile, an organism adapted to thrive without oxygen, feeding off chemicals in the water? Or was it something geological, a rare interaction between pressure, minerals, and temperature shaping the sediment in ways not yet understood? But the precision of the patterns made those explanations feel incomplete. Nature, even in its strangest forms, rarely creates such intentional symmetry. And then there was the most unsettling possibility of all. What if these tracks weren't ancient? What if they were recent? What if whatever made them was still here? As the submersible lingered in the darkness, scanning deeper into the void, one thing became clear. The blue hole wasn't just a silent grave or a geological archive. It might still be active in ways no one could explain. And just as the team began processing this discovery,
We know it was once dry because divers have found stalactites still clinging to the old roof structure. They're still there. Marine archaeologists have found evidence of them visiting the site, and we hope to find more evidence of why they were there on our dive.
the world above was already watching, unaware that what they were about to witness next would turn this expedition into a global phenomenon. When the world witnessed the unknown. This wasn't just a deep-sea mission unfolding in isolation. It was happening in front of the entire world. For the first time in history, a descent into the Great Blue Hole wasn't confined to scientists and explorers. It was broadcast live, streaming across screens everywhere, turning a remote underwater expedition into a shared global experience. From classrooms to living rooms, from smartphones to massive displays, millions tuned in. Viewers weren't just watching, they were witnessing every moment as it happened. Every flicker of sonar, every sweep of the submersible's lights, every unexpected discovery played out in real time. It felt less like a documentary and more like stepping inside the submersible itself. The technical challenge alone was staggering. Transmitting high-definition footage from hundreds of feet below the ocean's surface through crushing pressure and corrosive chemical layers required precision and innovation. Yet somehow, the connection held. The darkness, the silence, the tension, it all reached the surface without delay. And then came the moments that no one could look away from. The conch graveyard, the preserved divers, the unsettling stillness below the hydrogen sulfide layer. Reactions flooded in instantly. Shock, curiosity, disbelief. Social media erupted. Experts weighed in alongside everyday viewers, each trying to make sense of what they were seeing. The deep sea had never felt so close, or so unsettling. But nothing sparked more attention than the strange patterns on the ocean floor. As the sonar revealed those looping, deliberate tracks, the live chat exploded. Theories spread faster than facts. Some called it a new form of life. Others insisted it had to be a natural phenomenon we simply didn't understand yet. A few went even further, suggesting something far more mysterious. Screenshots were captured, clips replayed, debates ignited across forums and feeds. What made it unforgettable wasn't just the discovery, it was the raw, unfiltered reaction from the crew themselves. For a brief moment, their professionalism gave way to quiet disbelief. You could feel it, even through a screen. That shared pause, that collective realization that something didn't add up, pulled viewers deeper into the mystery. But beyond the spectacle, something more powerful was happening. The images weren't just fascinating, they were unsettling reminders. Plastic waste resting beside ancient formations, a world untouched for thousands of years, now marked by human presence. The message didn't need narration. It was already clear. By the time the submersibles began preparing to ascend, the expedition had become more than a scientific breakthrough. It had turned into a global conversation about exploration, about responsibility, and about how much we truly understand the depths of our own planet. And as the world continued to debate what had been seen, the team knew their mission wasn't over. Because what they brought back wouldn't just stay underwater, it was about to spark action far beyond the ocean's surface. What the blue hole changed forever. When the submersibles finally resurfaced, the mission didn't end, it transformed. What began as a journey into one of Earth's most mysterious sinkholes quickly evolved into something far bigger than exploration. It became a turning point. The team hadn't just gathered data, they had uncovered a story written in stone, silence, and shadows. From ancient cave formations to lifeless depths, from human remains to unexplained tracks, the blue hole revealed both the planet's distant past and its fragile present. And people around the world were paying attention. The impact was immediate. Conversations shifted from curiosity to concern. Those haunting images, plastic waste resting beside untouched geological formations, a once isolated environment now marked by human presence, sparked something deeper. It wasn't just about what was discovered, it was about what it meant. Exploration, for a long time, was about pushing boundaries, chasing the unknown, and uncovering hidden worlds. But this dive reframed that idea entirely. It showed that discovery comes with responsibility, that even the most remote corners of the planet are not beyond our reach, and not beyond our impact. For scientists, The findings opened new questions about life, geology, and the limits of survival. For policymakers and environmental advocates, it became evidence, visual, undeniable proof that protection efforts couldn't wait. And for everyday viewers, it created a connection. The ocean was no longer distant or abstract. It felt real, vulnerable, alive. But perhaps the most powerful outcome wasn't found in the data or the headlines. It was in the shift of perspective, the realization that there are still places on Earth that can surprise us, challenge us, even unsettle us, and that we are responsible for what happens to them next. Because the blue hole didn't just reveal secrets, it asked questions. What else is hiding in the depths, waiting to be discovered? How much have we already changed without realizing it? And if even this isolated world bears our mark, what does that say about the rest of the ocean? The expedition may have ended, but its echoes didn't fade. They spread through conversations, through awareness, through action. Because sometimes the most important discoveries aren't the answers we find, but the questions we can no longer ignore. If this dive pulled you into the unknown, share your thoughts below. What do you think made those mysterious tracks? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and explore more untold deep-sea secrets waiting in our next video.